Be useful. This video is based on key insights from the book Be Useful by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Introduction. Arnold Schwarzenegger begins by reflecting on a difficult period following his time as governor of California in 2011, a time marked by personal struggles that overshadowed his earlier successes. Despite achieving significant political wins like passing environmental policies and investing in infrastructure, the global financial crisis and subsequent public dissatisfaction left him feeling defeated. He acknowledges that while leaders receive credit during economic booms, they inevitably face blame during downturns, regardless of their control over external factors. Schwarzenegger emphasizes that even with accomplishments, public perception can be harsh when individuals struggle with personal issues like job loss or educational cuts. He draws parallels to setbacks in his bodybuilding and acting careers, but clarifies that his greatest failure was the breakdown of his family. While he chooses not to rehash the details, he describes hitting rock bottom and questioning whether to rebuild his life or give up. His career attempts after leaving office initially failed, and the media seemed to anticipate a tragic end to his story. However, Schwarzenegger is known for his resilience. He didn't succumb to despair, instead choosing to rebuild. He combined his past experiences, bodybuilding, acting, and politics into a new phase of his life, focusing on fitness, policy work, and entertainment. Unexpectedly, he found himself becoming a motivational speaker, sought after for his advice and positivity. People connected with his message, sharing his speeches widely on social media. He realized a need for encouragement in a world filled with negativity, and despite objective improvements in global conditions, many people feel hopeless. Schwarzenegger noticed a troubling trend. Despite data showing progress in areas like war, disease, and poverty, a sense of despair was growing, fueled by misinformation and forces that profit from unhappiness. He observed rising rates of depression, anxiety, and suicide, particularly after the COVID-19 pandemic. This led him to analyze why people were drawn to his message, and he concluded it was a desire for trust, honesty, and positivity in a world saturated with negativity. He recognized that the advice he offered resonated because it mirrored the principles he had lived by throughout his life, principles that had helped him overcome past failures. These aren't new ideas, he explains, but timeless tools for building a fulfilling life. They involve setting goals, working hard, communicating effectively, adapting to challenges, and giving back to others. He credits his father's simple advice, "Be useful," as the core principle guiding his decisions and actions. Schwarzenegger's father's advice wasn't about specific achievements, but about the importance of contributing to something larger than oneself. He acknowledges that usefulness can be defined differently by everyone, but the key is to focus on the process of building a meaningful life rather than solely on the outcome. He wrote this book to share these lessons, inspired by his father's wisdom and his own journey of redemption and reinvention. Ultimately, Schwarzenegger believes that everyone has a purpose, and that being useful is essential for a happy and fulfilling life. Chapter 1. Have a clear vision. Arnold Schwarzenegger begins by observing that many people feel lost and unhappy, often stuck in jobs they dislike and relationships that don't fulfill them. He emphasizes that this isn't a sign of being broken, but rather a result of lacking a clear vision for life. He believes that having a clear vision, a picture of your ideal future and a plan to get there, is the most important thing. Without it, people drift through life, feeling like things just happen to them, instead of being choices they actively made. Schwarzenegger stresses that while past experiences shape us, we always have a choice in how we move forward. He acknowledges that everyone's upbringing is complicated, but a vision provides a standard for evaluating decisions. He asks readers to consider if each choice brings them closer to or further from their desired future. Successful people actively avoid choices that derail their goals, focusing instead on those that clarify and advance their vision. The key difference between those who thrive and those who struggle, he argues, is the clarity of their vision, the strength of their plan, and the acceptance of personal responsibility. The author explains 2 ways to create a vision. One is to start small, building outwards until a larger picture emerges. The other is to begin with a broad idea and then zoom in for more detail. Schwarzenegger shares his own experience, starting with a broad fascination with America as a child. He was captivated by images of American life, big cars, impressive buildings, and a sense of vibrancy. He didn't know what he would do in America, but he knew he wanted to be there. He compares this to the advice of surfer Garrett McNamara, who suggests revisiting childhood passions to uncover potential life paths. He uses examples of Tiger Woods, the Williams sisters, and Steven Spielberg, all of whom discovered their passions early in life, which then became the foundation for their future pursuits. Schwarzenegger emphasizes that a broad vision is a good starting point, allowing for flexibility and discovery. He uses the analogy of a map, starting with continents and gradually zooming into countries, cities, and streets. He explains that just as a tourist can hop between countries without deep exploration, a vague vision leads to superficial experiences. To truly understand and connect with a place or a life goal requires detailed exploration and commitment. He illustrates this with his own journey into bodybuilding, sparked by seeing Reg Park on a magazine cover. Park's story, rising from a working-class background to success, provided Schwarzenegger with a clear path to America. The author then highlights the importance of creating space and time for inspiration. He acknowledges that life gets busy, but argues that making time for reflection is crucial. He suggests small, daily goals as a starting point, building momentum and shifting focus. He points to the benefits of activities like walking, citing studies that show it boosts creativity. He shares examples of historical figures, Beethoven, Wordsworth, Nietzsche, Einstein, who found inspiration through walking. He then recounts Jono Lining's transformative experiences walking the Himalayas and the Camino de Santiago, demonstrating how physical journeys can lead to emotional and mental breakthroughs. Schwarzenegger himself finds clarity through activities like working out, skiing, and relaxing in a jacuzzi. Finally, Schwarzenegger stresses the importance of vividly visualizing your vision. He distinguishes this from mere wishful thinking, emphasizing that visualization should be combined with planning, hard work, and learning from failures. He uses examples from the world of sports, Michael Phelps, Jason Day, Sebastian Vettel, to illustrate how elite athletes use visualization to enhance performance. He explains that visualization isn't just about imagining success, but also about understanding what failure looks like. He shares his own experience of turning down a lucrative endorsement deal because it didn't align with his long-term vision of becoming a movie star. He concludes by urging readers to look in the mirror, to honestly assess their current reality and compare it to their ideal future. He emphasizes that self-awareness and a clear vision are essential for avoiding a life of regret and achieving true fulfillment. Chapter 2: Never Think Small. Arnold Schwarzenegger shares his journey from bodybuilding to acting and politics, revealing the principles that drove his success. He begins by highlighting an impressive statistic. By 1987, he'd killed 283 people on screen, more than any other Hollywood actor. This wasn't just about action, it was about achieving a goal and becoming a star. Schwarzenegger realized that simply being an action hero wasn't enough. He wanted to be a leading man, the highest-paid actor, and to do that, he needed to show his range, his comedic, dramatic, and human sides. This illustrates the first rule: goals evolve. What you want at first isn't always what you'll want later, and it's important to be open to new ambitions. Despite facing skepticism from journalists, studio executives, and even friends, Schwarzenegger pursued his vision. He befriended Ivan Reitman, a producer who believed in his potential, and together they developed Twins. This highlights the importance of finding allies who support your dreams. However, getting the movie made wasn't easy. Studios doubted Schwarzenegger's comedic abilities and were hesitant to invest in a project with a high price tag. To overcome this, Schwarzenegger, Reitman, and Danny DeVito took a significant risk. They agreed to work for no upfront salary, instead taking a percentage of the film's profits. This demonstrates a crucial principle: commitment. When you truly believe in something, you're willing to take risks and make sacrifices. Schwarzenegger emphasizes the importance of going all in, a concept he learned from James Cameron. Cameron's dedication to detail and realism, exemplified by the making of Titanic, showcases the idea that if you're going to do something, do it completely. Don't cut corners or compromise. This applies to all aspects of life, from bodybuilding, where every muscle and detail matters, to pursuing a career or personal goal. Schwarzenegger relates this to his own bodybuilding journey, explaining how he identified and addressed weaknesses in his physique, like his calves, to achieve perfection. He literally cut the legs off his sweatpants to constantly remind himself to work on them. This illustrates the need to focus on both the big picture and the small details. The author stresses the need to ignore naysayers. Throughout history, many successful people faced doubt and rejection. Airbnb, PayPal, and even Steve Jobs all experienced initial setbacks. Schwarzenegger recounts how he was often laughed at when he first expressed his desire to become an actor. However, he used this negativity as motivation. He encourages readers to not believe the doubts of others, and to use them as fuel to prove them wrong. He shares his experience as governor of California, where he faced resistance from both parties, and how he remained focused on his goals despite the opposition. Schwarzenegger firmly believes in having no plan B. He argues that having a backup plan undermines your commitment to your primary goal. It's a sign of doubt and a path to settling for less. He uses the example of Sir Edmund Hillary, the first person to summit Mount Everest, who immediately began planning his next climb. This illustrates the idea that achieving one goal should inspire you to set even higher ones. He emphasizes that dreaming big isn't harder than dreaming small, and that the only limits are those we impose on ourselves. Finally, Schwarzenegger highlights the ripple effect of success. When you achieve your dreams, you inspire others to pursue theirs. He shares how his success as a bodybuilder and actor opened doors for other Europeans to come to America and pursue their own ambitions. He encourages readers to think beyond their own personal gain and consider the positive impact they can have on the world. He concludes by urging readers to embrace big dreams, commit fully to their pursuit, and ignore the voices that tell them it can't be done. Chapter 3: Work Your Ass Off. Arnold Schwarzenegger believes that most people share a common ground. They aren't necessarily the strongest, smartest, or luckiest individuals, but they possess the willingness to work hard. He emphasizes that dedication and effort are the most reliable paths to success, surpassing any shortcuts or quick fixes. He argues that true achievement requires consistent work, and those who try to avoid it will inevitably fall behind. He illustrates this point by discussing wealth, noting that lottery winners and those born into money often struggle with happiness and fulfillment because they haven't experienced the satisfaction of earning their success. They miss out on the valuable lessons learned through struggle and the appreciation that comes with overcoming challenges. Schwarzenegger uses the example of Sir Edmund Hillary's climb of Mount Everest to highlight the importance of the journey. Being simply placed at the summit wouldn't have provided the same sense of accomplishment as the arduous trek. The struggle, the pushing of limits, and the overcoming of obstacles are what make the achievement meaningful. He stresses that work isn't just about the end result. It's about the growth and self-discovery that happen along the way. This philosophy has guided Schwarzenegger throughout his life, from his intense bodybuilding training to his acting career and even his time as governor. He details his own relentless work ethic, describing his grueling bodybuilding regimen of 5 hours of training daily for 15 years, and later, a double-split routine to maximize his workouts. He explains that this level of dedication wasn't common, but it was necessary for him to achieve his goals. He applied the same principle to acting, dedicating the same amount of time to classes and script analysis. When he entered politics, he immersed himself in policy and engaged with experts to prepare himself for the role of governor. In each phase of his life, the core principle remained the same: preparation through hard work. Schwarzenegger introduces the concept of reps as a metaphor for consistent effort. He meticulously tracked his workouts, ensuring he completed every set and repetition. He applied this same principle to script memorization, marking tally marks on scripts until he had mastered them. He emphasizes the importance of good reps, maintaining proper form and giving maximum effort. He draws a parallel to firearms training, where slow is smooth, smooth is fast, and to the rigorous training of first responders who rely on ingrained skills in high-pressure situations. He uses the example of jazz musician John Coltrane, who practiced scales relentlessly to achieve his improvisational brilliance. The key is that consistent, focused practice builds a foundation for excellence. The author believes that pain is an unavoidable and even valuable part of the process. He recalls his director, John Milius, pushing him to his physical limits during the filming of Conan the Barbarian. Stating that pain is temporary, this film will be permanent. Schwarzenegger embraced the pain as a sign of progress and a necessary component of achieving his vision. He compares this to Muhammad Ali's philosophy of only counting sit-ups when they become challenging. He emphasizes that productive pain, the kind that leads to growth, is worth enduring. He recounts his experience delivering his inaugural speech with a broken leg, choosing to endure the pain rather than compromise his commitment to the occasion. Schwarzenegger stresses the importance of follow-through. He argues that having a plan isn't enough. You must actively pursue it and address any obstacles that arise. He shares an anecdote from his time as governor during the San Diego wildfires, detailing how he personally intervened to ensure that essential resources, like cots and medical care, reached those in need. He emphasizes that success isn't just about having a vision, it's about meticulously executing every detail. He believes that dedication to follow-through separates those who achieve their goals from those who simply dream about them. Finally, Schwarzenegger emphasizes that everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. He challenges readers to examine how they spend their time and to prioritize activities that align with their goals. He dismisses the excuse of being too busy, arguing that it's often a sign of misplaced priorities. He shares his own example of balancing bodybuilding, business ventures, and acting classes, demonstrating that it's possible to achieve a lot by maximizing your time and focusing on what truly matters. He encourages readers to break down their goals into manageable daily tasks and to commit to consistent effort, even if it's just for an hour each day. He believes that dedication and hard work, combined with a clear vision, are the keys to unlocking their full potential. Chapter 4: Sell, Sell, Sell. Arnold Schwarzenegger shares his experiences and insights on how to achieve goals and find purpose, drawing from his journey as a bodybuilder, actor, and politician. He emphasizes that having a big dream isn't enough. You must actively sell that dream to others. This means clearly communicating your vision and making it appealing to those who can help you succeed. He learned this firsthand when he arrived in America expecting bodybuilding to be widely celebrated, only to find it misunderstood and often ridiculed. He realized that waiting for others to understand wouldn't work. He needed to proactively educate them. Schwarzenegger stresses the importance of understanding your customer, the people whose support you need. In his case, it started with journalists, then expanded to movie studio executives and eventually voters. He learned to tailor his message to resonate with each group, addressing their concerns and highlighting the benefits of his vision. He recalls a negotiation for the movie Twins, where he and his partners presented their idea not as a creative endeavor, but as a good business deal, appealing to the studio executives' financial interests. This illustrates the power of framing your vision in a way that aligns with your audience's priorities. The author points out that people often underestimate those who are different or unconventional. He advises embracing this underestimation, as it creates an opportunity to exceed expectations. He shares an example from his political career, where he was initially dismissed as an actor with no political experience. Instead of trying to prove his qualifications in a traditional way, he focused on bridging conversations, addressing concerns directly, and presenting his ideas in a clear and compelling manner. He used this to his advantage, turning skepticism into support. Schwarzenegger emphasizes the importance of owning your story, even the parts you're not proud of. He recounts a difficult period after a failed election, where he took full responsibility for the outcome and openly communicated his lessons learned. This honesty and transparency, he argues, built trust and ultimately paved the way for his re-election. He believes that trying to hide or distort your past only undermines your credibility. Authenticity, he suggests, is a powerful selling tool. Throughout the chapter, Schwarzenegger consistently returns to the idea of selling your vision. He doesn't mean being manipulative, but rather being a passionate and effective communicator. He learned from Joe Weider, the founder of bodybuilding magazines, that projecting confidence and believing in your vision is crucial, even before it becomes a reality. Weider didn't just talk about bodybuilding becoming popular. He acted as if it already was, shaping perceptions and attracting followers. Ultimately, Schwarzenegger's message is about taking control of your narrative and actively pursuing your dreams. He encourages readers to identify their customers, understand their needs, and communicate their vision with clarity and conviction. He believes that everyone has the power to shape their own destiny, but it requires effort, communication, and a willingness to sell yourself and your ideas to the world. He concludes by stating that no one is better equipped or motivated to promote your vision than you are, and that failing to do so is a waste of time and effort. Chapter 5: Shift Gears. Arnold Schwarzenegger shares a powerful story about facing challenges and achieving goals, starting with the early days of the pandemic in 2020. He was frustrated to see the United States struggling to get enough masks and ventilators for hospitals, especially since he remembered funding a large stockpile of medical supplies years earlier that was later allowed to expire due to budget cuts. Instead of just complaining, Schwarzenegger decided to take action. He contacted hospitals to understand the situation firsthand, and then reached out to his network to find a solution. He didn't waste time dwelling on the problem. He immediately focused on what he could do. This illustrates his core belief: don't complain unless you're prepared to be part of the solution. Schwarzenegger emphasizes the importance of shifting your perspective when facing difficulties. He uses his own life as an example, recalling a challenging childhood in Austria. Instead of letting hardship define him, he chose to focus on the positive, recognizing opportunities for growth and learning. He highlights a key principle: problems are inevitable, but how you manage them is what matters. He found a way to turn a frustrating situation into a chance to help others, demonstrating his commitment to making a positive impact. He believes that adversity builds character and provides opportunities to practice valuable skills like adaptability and reframing failures. The author explains a fascinating concept called negativity bias, which is our tendency to focus more on negative things than positive ones. Scientists believe this is a survival mechanism from our ancestors, but Schwarzenegger argues it's not helpful in modern life. He firmly believes in actively choosing positivity, not just for survival, but for thriving. He points to research showing a link between a positive attitude and better health outcomes, even in serious illnesses like cancer. He stresses that a positive mindset isn't about ignoring problems, but about believing in your ability to overcome them. Schwarzenegger shares personal anecdotes to illustrate his point. He recalls his difficult upbringing, lacking basic comforts and facing a critical father. He could have easily succumbed to negativity, but he chose to see these challenges as opportunities for growth. He learned discipline, resilience, and a strong work ethic. He even remembers his early heart surgery and how he turned a setback into a focused recovery plan, tracking his progress like an athlete in training. He emphasizes that success isn't about avoiding failure, but about learning from it and persevering. The author stresses the importance of breaking the rules and challenging the status quo. He recounts his experiences in bodybuilding, acting, and politics, where he consistently defied expectations and pursued unconventional paths. He faced resistance from those who preferred the way things have always been done, but he refused to let their negativity deter him. He highlights that risk is relative and depends on your perspective. What seems risky to one person may not seem so to another, depending on their values and what they have to lose. Schwarzenegger's own willingness to take risks stemmed from a place of having little to lose and a strong belief in his vision. He encourages readers to analyze their own risks and focus on the potential rewards. Ultimately, he believes that embracing challenges and refusing to accept limitations are essential for achieving your goals and living a fulfilling life. Chapter 6: Shut Your Mouth, Open Your Mind. Arnold Schwarzenegger believes that finding your purpose and achieving goals isn't always about following a traditional path like going to a 4-year university. He feels that pushing everyone into college isn't always the best idea, especially if someone isn't sure what they want to study or if a degree isn't necessary for their dream job. He points out that racking up huge student loan debt for a piece of paper doesn't make sense for everyone. He argues that the real value isn't just getting a degree, but discovering why you're going to college and what you hope to achieve. Schwarzenegger's own life is a perfect example of this. He learned valuable lessons not just in classrooms, but through experiences. He credits a man named Freddie Jersel, a friend of his childhood, with teaching him the importance of lifelong learning. Jersel, a remarkable man who resisted the Nazis during World War II, didn't just lecture young people. He sparked their curiosity, planting seeds of knowledge and encouraging them to think for themselves. He believed that training your mind was just as important as training your body. Schwarzenegger recalls that Jersel saw his potential as a bodybuilder, even when his own father doubted it would lead to success. This idea of being a lifelong learner is central to Schwarzenegger's philosophy. He describes Freddie as a Renaissance man, someone interested in many different things: sports, opera, philosophy, history, and always open to new ideas. He emphasizes that curiosity is key. He encourages people to be like a sponge, soaking up knowledge from the world around them. He stresses the importance of listening more than talking and asking good questions instead of trying to sound smart. He believes that all the information you gather, even if it doesn't seem useful at the moment, could be valuable later on. Schwarzenegger feels strongly that the world itself is the best classroom. He learned valuable skills through hands-on experiences, like working in a hardware store and training in the gym. He believes that these experiences taught him things that a traditional classroom couldn't: goal setting, perseverance, communication, and the importance of helping others. He points to the Arnold Sports Festival as proof that many people find success and fulfillment through fitness and related fields, often without a college degree. He highlights the importance of skilled trades, like plumbing and electrical work, which are often overlooked but essential to a functioning society. He notes a shortage of skilled workers in many countries and argues that we need to encourage young people to consider these careers. He uses the story of Mary Shenouda, a high school dropout who became a successful private chef, to illustrate his point. Mary didn't follow the traditional path of college, but she was driven by a passion and a willingness to learn. She taught herself everything she needed to know, becoming an expert in her field through hard work and dedication. Schwarzenegger believes that this kind of self-directed learning is possible for anyone, regardless of their background. He cautions against blindly following societal expectations and encourages people to pursue their passions, even if it means taking a different route. Schwarzenegger emphasizes the importance of curiosity and humility. He shares how his own curiosity led him to take on the role of the Terminator, a decision that changed his career. He explains that successful people are often drawn to those who ask good questions and are willing to listen. He quotes various thinkers and leaders who have emphasized the value of listening, highlighting that we learn more by listening than by talking. He believes that being open-minded and willing to learn from others is essential for growth and success. Ultimately, Schwarzenegger believes that knowledge is power, but only if it's put to use. He shares his experience as governor, where he was constantly learning and applying that knowledge to solve problems. He encourages readers to take action and use their skills and knowledge to make a difference in the world. He stresses that it's not enough to just acquire knowledge. You have to actively apply it to achieve your goals and contribute to society. He concludes by urging people to be sponges, to soak up knowledge, and to use it to create a better future for themselves and others. Chapter 7, Break Your Mirrors. Arnold Schwarzenegger begins by playfully establishing his preferred nicknames, but immediately clarifies a point he's long resisted. He doesn't believe in the idea of the self-made man. He explains that as a young immigrant, the term confused him. He wondered how anyone could be entirely self-made when their parents, mentors, and even the country they lived in all played a role in their success. He acknowledges that people meant it as a compliment, recognizing his hard work and dedication, but he felt it overlooked the crucial support he received from others like Joe Weider, Steve Reeves, and John Milius. Schwarzenegger believes the American dream is achievable for anyone, but that very possibility proves we aren't self-made. He argues that needing America, with all its opportunities, to achieve success means he was indebted to something larger than himself. As he matured, he understood the compliment wasn't about individual creation, but about recognizing qualities like discipline and motivation. He admits he possessed those qualities, but emphasizes that even those were nurtured and developed with the help of others. He stresses that everyone's journey is built on the contributions of those who came before, even those who presented obstacles. Even negative experiences teach valuable lessons about survival and resilience. The author powerfully asserts that we all rely on others, and therefore have a responsibility to send the ladder back down to help those who follow. He believes embracing this responsibility is transformative, evolving from a duty into a fulfilling privilege. He frames his writing as a direct conversation with the reader, emphasizing the importance of motivation and vision, but cautions against the potential for self-improvement to become selfish. He warns against a me against the world attitude where success is seen as someone else's loss. Schwarzenegger firmly believes life isn't a zero-sum game. Everyone can grow and succeed together. He illustrates this point with his experiences in bodybuilding and acting. In the gym, competitors pushed each other to become stronger, recognizing that a stronger training partner ultimately elevated their own performance. He explains that a thriving bodybuilding scene required a collective effort to raise the standard of physical achievement. Similarly, in Hollywood, he observed that collaborative actors who supported each other created better movies and ultimately benefited from greater success. He contrasts this with actors driven by ego, who diminish the quality of the work and ultimately limit their own potential. He uses examples like the Golden State Warriors and Patagonia to show how teamwork and prioritizing others lead to greater success and admiration. Schwarzenegger points to scientific evidence supporting the idea that giving back increases happiness. A Harvard study showed that even spending a small amount of money on others brought more joy than spending it on oneself. He emphasizes that the act of giving, not the amount, is what matters. He acknowledges that it can be challenging to find time or feel qualified to give back, especially when facing personal struggles. However, he encourages readers to start small, by simply being aware of opportunities to help others in their daily lives. He suggests utilizing existing skills, language, math, practical abilities, to volunteer or offer assistance. He highlights examples like picking up litter or helping neighbors, demonstrating that even small acts of kindness can make a difference. The author shares his own journey with giving back, starting with his work with Special Olympics athletes. He describes the profound joy he experienced witnessing their progress and overcoming their fears. This experience ignited a passion for helping others that led to his involvement with the President's Council for Physical Fitness and Sports and numerous other charitable initiatives. He draws a parallel to Sergeant Shriver's advice to break your mirrors, to focus less on oneself and more on the needs of others. Schwarzenegger explains that giving back isn't about neglecting personal goals, but about recognizing that helping others ultimately enriches one's own life. He uses the example of firefighters who risk their lives to save others, even when their own homes are threatened, to illustrate the power of selfless service. Schwarzenegger concludes by emphasizing the interconnectedness of humanity and the importance of a we-focused approach to life. He encourages readers to find ways to contribute to their communities and to embrace the joy and fulfillment that comes from giving back. He believes that by prioritizing the needs of others, we can create a better world for everyone. He reiterates that giving back isn't just a noble act, it's a pathway to personal growth, happiness, and a more meaningful life. And that brings us to the end of our summary of this book. I hope you found it insightful and valuable. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe for more. Your support helps us bring you more great content. Thanks for watching.